People can have thousands of opinions on a small little topic, and they can pick and choose various degrees of interest in each other's points of view. But trying to take it all on tends to be a bit like a porcupine, even if it's a small, small topic, like women's lib or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if you find some of this conversation a little bit tedious. But what's more interesting to me than the tedium that's involved is the feeling I have that the people helping me know when Disney and Fox News run this program of filtration, which is every bit as sickening as what we hear from the UN about what Russia is doing in the Ukraine. It's a sickening, murdering secret program being run by UW Dialectical, Carnegie Mellon University, Mellon Bank, and the Obamas, and it's gone on for decades. My friends don't look into it. They don't care how I've been treated. And this encourages the Gestapo. And they've murdered people who were somewhat remorseless towards me. And what I think is especially interesting about um, the topic I'm bringing to your attention right now, excuse me while I stretch a little bit, topic while I bring to your attention right now is that they probably say that I'm intimidated by the subject material. Um, don't get your hopes up, Obama. I'm not the least bit intimidated by this material. It's actually quite interesting. What Ann Mitchell and her fan club remember, and what Lisa Miles said, ick, she was a Syrian violinist who lay in wait in Pittsburgh when I came back from Mount Desert Island, so-called Experience Park. What she said ick about was a mythological experience I had after what I characterized as a lesbian affair with Leslie Katz. I met one of her friends from Swarthmore who's acquainted with the Dalai Lama, a lesbian from Magical Religion from the Jewish community who owns Sounds True in Colorado. And she had a very aquiline nose and looked sometimes like Lenin. And she convinced me in a Princeton Unitarian church that we were metamorphosing into an androgyny binary, anima animus. So the Licky Chop spy cam people thought this was hilarious. Pittner hypnosis people thought, well, call Clint Eastwood because Jimmy's going to become a girl. And it was based on Mind Blender, the old image of Yoko becoming Lennon, Lennon becoming Yoko. And what they did was they hardwired into my psyche this aspect of their thinking because they were selling the idea of sexual abstinence. You know, it was a lesbian religion, lesbian affair with Leslie, magical religion, and then the grand facade because man can't overcome his lust. He can't metamorphose into nirvana, which is a sexless foreverness. And this is the mythology that they hardwired into to lament the Holocaust as they see it, or as they sell it, I should say, of American and civilized abortion laws. And so it was all part of a mythological stand by Queen Elizabeth and her psychopathic secretary, Amanda Harcourt. And one of the things that they did was uh, correlated up to the idea of Van de Graaff's Peter Hamel thinking, you begin to wonder if the points of all the ancient myths are solemnly directed straight at you. Well, Donald Trump said he could kill somebody in Times Square, but what he was really saying was, be my guest, Vladimir. To Putin, he was offering Putin a chance to troll an American dissenter. You like Russia, they don't like you, is the sort of thing that Tom O'Connor would say. And so Pitt said, please, if you trust Russian Kerry, by all means, be our guest. Present your wonderful case to them, and we'll let them pass judgment, not like ye. This was all thought out in advance, but it was a little bit more complicated than just that. I mean, that alone shows you the sort of scavenger switchboard psychology that's at work, and why Obama would think, oh, Queerball is going to be too intimidated to come out of the closet, because well, the nature of reality is that he insulted the black man. He schwarz on the nigger. What did he do? He schwarz the nigger. Schwarzenegger. Oh, Bobby Jindal's going to hear about it. Oh, DeLape is going to hear about it. They're going to come running. The whole country is going to come running. And they say, that we interrupt this mythology because the real mythology is African studies. Wait a minute. I'm talking about something that these Jewish girls pulled. The ones who were out in the woods chanting, gonna rape, kill, pillage, and burn, gonna rape, kill, pillage, burn any babies. Remember Leslie Katz? I told you about her. She's the sacred, pure symbol of the filtration system that Penis Gabriel and Robert Fripp had all planned to put in place for the Trumpington Putinees to make Jimmy a girl by cutting off his willies because he refused to date rape. Her virginity proves that he is neuroaggressive, so make him a girl. Clip. Just like in The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Remember when they snip off the penis in the end? Just like that. And you're going to become a mythological character. This is part of the neurohypnotic revenge of the Axis Green Party in explaining the psychology of a remorseless genocide. And you've been subject to a lot of misleaders about this. When I was about 16 and my father rescued me, he was horrified by the trauma I was in. I sat by Crabtree Creek, which I complained about being overdeveloped. I'd watch a beaver and talk to a neighbor about the Heaven and Hell Odysseys, which was a planet where the moon now is, where people had a phonics that allowed them to communicate in music, like the Silbo Gomera in the islands of Greece or whatever it is. And in fact, when I shared this with one of the losers in the Jewish scientific community who was involved in framing me for armed robbery after I got home from the governor's school, his sister was involved in it. She was with me that day and refused to testify. It was clear that they had set it up. Their friend Ryback had shown me the nuclear docs, so I complained to the administration about him showing me and so forth. But he said to me when he heard Close Encounters of the Third Kind with the do, oh, poor Jimmy, you will never get credit for the idea of a musical society now. But I mean, Larry Letter on my birthday argued for hours about whether or not the kids who had adopted me as a deaf nobody would walk to Chatham to enjoy the park since it was my birthday. He really put up a fuss about it. They didn't want to let me do anything. They didn't want to let me think. And sometimes he'd pipe up, you're talking about me in code. You're talking about me in code. And this was the sort of environment they put me in and held me in. Then they're working with Cyril Wecht, Leslie Katz, and these people. So Oliver Stone was obviously behind this. I mean, you see Oliver Stone and Platoon at the end. There's an Oliver North look-alike and a puff of smoke, which makes a little miniature mushroom cloud. The Wizard of Oz appears in a mushroom cloud, and the look-alike of Oliver. So these guys have been hobnobbing this idea all up. I mean, Watmaker had a dog named Tito, and the dude who gave my father's cashmere coat to his dog to chew up when my father died and gave me his cashmere coat, had a dog named Tito. And this was when we lived behind Alice Show Talk for the Russian Girl. And Sharon Samuels, whose mother was Shelley Friedman, the magistrate, who introduced me to Gail Burston, who wrote the script that supposedly I'm to blame for not understanding, right? I'm the one on trial, not them, not the ones who wrote the script. But the person, they implanted a Wattenmaker implant in, right? So, and they called it bursting, bursting. the enemy within, like the Burston and the Exorcist. This is Reagan's whole contraption in one psychological picture, getting revenge for Hitler. And they have Amnesty International come trot, trot, trot. You want to be accepted by the elite. Well, if you want to be accepted by the elite, you have to answer for Diamond Dogs by Bowie, or you're not the I'm the Walrus. I mean, Leonard Nimoy, when I was 6 or 7 years old, I knew he came to the neighborhood. And I asked about it, and it was clear to me that nobody wanted me to be introduced to him. That was ruled out. And it was one of the early strange things I got from the environment I was being raised in. But he wrote a book called I'm Not Spock. And here I am, oh, I'm not the walrus now. Oh, yes, you are, said little Gail Burson, little Nicole, yes. And so I had it all thought out. And there were a lot of thinking went on behind the scenes with this stuff. Like, these poachers included out here in Washington, not just Robert Anton Wilson, but um, Frank Herbert, who talked in fact, Donald O. used to go, oh, House of Atreus is a cursed house. You can't escape the curse of Agamemnon and stuff. He was talking about doing, he was getting all whacked out. This was a pedo who battered my sister, broke her ribs and stuff. And but he was almighty to the Warhol people. Oh, no, never question Donald. Donald can never be questioned. And they use him for compromise and blackmail about a child who they tortured. And the pictures, they show perfectly clearly that they tortured me as a child. It's perfectly obvious. Ken Crimson insulted every man, woman, and child on earth by denying it after this picture showed up. It was obvious from the scientific evidence that Dr. Shen showed up, but bang, 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 there goes Donnie Chen. He's by Donnie. Sorry about that. I didn't do anything. But they're like pointing the finger, you did it. And then they go kill Cersei Kennedy to get even. Two great people die, and they call it getting even. And it's all because of this hybrid zania. Trumpy Tomb Putinese put together, because you begin to wonder if the points of all the ancient myths are also only directed straight at queerbait. And this is the thing that the British did in the invasion, the neo-NATO invasion directed at American intelligence with John Lennon. They shot JFK, they evacuated John Lennon, and then they used me for this walrus farce. And Schwarzenegger's like, we'll talk about it as we go along. Greta Thunberg immediately showed up looking like the pictures, looking like Burson, and pictures looking like Marianne Stauner. She was the girl who seduced me and told me to stop, and I backed off. And they said, oh, you must have +1. That means we get to inject you. This was Leon Bosnian's contribution up at Bard College in New York. She introduced herself to me at something called He's Dead Jim in the early 80s. And this whole gang was where Evan Nauer was running that program. So, there's no question that what they were doing was Osama bin Radio, Osama bin Laden. The super polite Japanese chick has been laid by the black man. They did a economic, eugenic, tit for tat, quo pro quo from the Democratic Party elite, like Biden and Obama. You with a run white Bush, and we'll replace you with the good black man. And if a president of the United States gets away with war crimes, why wouldn't the black president of the United States get away with war crimes? And they're like, just forgive Obama, move on. That's the nature of power. Well, I'd prefer to be left alone, but I'm not afraid to talk about these issues. You've lost your mind, Obama, if you think I'm afraid of talking about these issues. I used to talk about the heaven and hell odyssey, the distraction. I'm not ashamed of the heaven and hell odyssey. You think I'm scared? Oh, he says the word condom. Oh, to scare me that they're going to give me AIDS because I smoked reefer. Because it won't make it through the Russian filtration system. You see, Putin's going to kill you in Times Square because you broke the laws of Russia. When they stashed national security documents on you when you were 12 or 13 years old and tortured you. This is their reasoning, their logic, their mentality, and it's all crystal ball stuff or crystal ball stuff. I was living in the same room as the director of army operations in Afghanistan, and for Obama, and you say, Martin Luther King, Amnesty International, would straighten out. Well, the thing is, psychologically, they were really burned with the idea that I was nonviolent, that I was restrained, and that abortion could be considered something that happened in the life of a nonviolent person. They were like, wait, wait. The James Child comes with this thing called nuclear war, the moral dimension. Decision to kill the child is like the decision to launch a nuclear bomb. See, this is whoa, 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 Trumpy turn, whoa, 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 and Obama sim radio. So the thing is that, Martin Luther King was, you know, heckled by other black people. So they hack into the heart wire. You had sex and you were like a demon possessed. So we'll listen to you through Carbonell's natural language system. And the NEVA Corporation, and we'll get Howard Stern with like their Stern, right? To Salman Rushdie everybody with, cognitive juices. And then we'll start lighting off fireworks and threaten it towards a big firecracker. And the queers are like, yes, yes, let's work towards the big firecracker. And then they release COVID. And then the queers are still calling it building momentum. I mean, why are they helping the people who did it to them? The whole thing, I was trying to get help for them and mourning and intervention. They never cared. UW Dialectical is off the deep end. Then when it comes to marijuana, that was being plied on me by Reagan's attorneys. Reagan's attorneys for the Federal Emergency Management Agency were pushing marijuana on me, pushing marijuana on me, pushing marijuana on me all the time. I was just living in a socially dependent situation as a deaf man, trying to work out a neurotrauma and write poems and learn how to read and think. I mean, I did a fairly admirable job of it, to be perfectly honest. But okay, so I'm not really forfeiting the topic of marijuana. It was an illegal substance in the state of Pennsylvania. There's no question. I never would buy it or possess it. I hated being around it, but I only had a limited number of friends who were willing to talk to me, and they were constantly plying me with marijuana. I just had to get used to that fact. It was a constant state there. But it's absurd theater is what they're putting on. Absolutely absurd theater. They had Mayor Schulman, mayor of the county mentality, Schulman, writing books about mayors in the medieval era of plague years, mayors. He's writing these little books. And it was obvious that they had released the AIDS attack. And he's writing these little books, it's like absurd theater. People were just brushing off. No, I don't see that. No, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. Lisa Miles lies and waits so she can say, you were being pushy. You were being pushy. Where's this +1? We're going to inject you. Postcode surrounding my name with positive and negative signs. Talk about a filtration system. I mean, the Gestapo work. That's, it's really very disgusting, and they were laughing about it. Even the poster that kid stole in North Korea has echoes of Flippy Toon's temper tantrum that I used to have a poster of his I took off of a telephone pole or something in my room. That Bill Wheeler made a big stink about, said if I didn't get rid of it, it proved I was a materialist. I mean, this is a weird mindset, And you got these letters. Notice they call me Egg, okay? It's just before I go to sleep, and there's been a oblique slash through the word go to, okay? Which is like, maybe we'll kill her or maybe she'll sleep with us. But go to slash. And they have this thing impacted that could have caused a stroke. It's an oblique stroke, is what that thing is called. So they, but, why shouldn't a black president get away with that? So, yeah, I mean, you have to understand that this is mythological heart wiring. When Alpina seduced me, it was in the middle of a sickening orchestration of AIDS being deserving of the people who had broken the laws of God by having sex out of wedlock. And this was just a campus affair. And they had the black military lying in wait to jump up and down about it, and they come up with this stuff. They come up with a stupid idea, you know. And behind it, this ignoramus is still around, but they pull it off, you know. They bomb Oklahoma Federal. They bring down the 911 towers in the name of conquering the virgins, so that put it into Midori, so that the so that the black man can get over that the Bobby Indo. Why do you think Bobby Indo is so popular in David Duke country? You know, and why do you think that the black man was saying that the man who was extolling Joseph Goebbels on Mount Desert Island, where the book Race and Reason was written, was advocating for the black man? You know, and one of these guys said to me, if you try to help black people, they will only turn on you. They encrypted Mount Beatty instead of Mr. Beatty. And my rebuttal to the people who wanted to keep Pitt invested in South Africa, it was published in the Post Gazette. I mean, you can find it in the newsreels. Yeah, now Guerrilla Theater had a girl named Dolly who used to go around saying U.S. out of North America. You know, and that's what they have in mind. They tortured me and they shot the Kennedys, right? And she was part of something called guerrilla theater. I learned today that gorillas can understand 2,000 words by human beings. Well, people with neuroplasms can understand 2,000 words told by Ivy League jury, too. And these mythologies were all sort of huckleberried together in a fin tag by Penis Gabriel, who has all sorts of weird Nazi ideas of like the salmon of Sisyphus, you know, the parasitic woman who will never let you go free, you know, and the glorification of a New York rapist who they castrate in the end. The opposite of me, you know, the girl was completely unharmed. You know, Marianne Steiner, I'm sure, would deny that I pushed myself on her. I'm sure that it's not true, that anybody who ever made love to me would ever say that I was an aggressive or violent lover. To the opposite effect. So, you know, and they have this thing going about animals, like this sort of love-hate thing going about women. We're going to protect the women. We're going to protect the women, and you're never going to look at any pornography. And they shoot Malala in the face as a symbol. Like they shot me in the face as a symbol of hatred for education. All education is pornography. We're going to protect the women from education. You don't know what you're talking about. We're protecting the women from education. You know, and this is it's a trophy of psychosis that America stands there and takes it from these horrible people whom they elevate to on high. Foucault and David Bowie were glorifying suicide bombers. That's why UW Dialectical has never reached a turning point in any of this cock and bull. They have never reached a turning point. They have never been able to face the truth about me because they're sitting in these weird boxes. We wonder if there's a alien filtration system. You know that Pee Wee Herman sound at the beginning of Electric Ladyland, or where the Axis Boat of Love, or one of the Jimi Hendrix, you know, alien space people, you know, and people, they think there's a filtration system from Alpha Centauri that's going to turn all of us into our James Jane, is what Ann Mitchell used to call me, our animus. We're going to become polarized with our eternal nirvana, you know, or sacred Greta Thunberg within, or whatever the hell they think of next. And they hotwire in this fight club. The black man doesn't like doesn't like sex anymore. The black man doesn't like sex anymore. He's going to give it to the white because the white had sex with honorary the black man. Bobby Yindle from David Duke country, so they glorify Joseph Goebbels. This really happened. You can see the archival info, and you try to reason with Pittsburgh about it. You'll get, oh yes, that happened with gobbledygook. We had to go John Hines this, John Hines that. You know, they'll say anything they can think of to weasel out of the fact that they've been covering for a nightmare. And I mentioned Frank Herbert. He wasn't just his business about a treatise. He also had a book called Soul Catcher. And that's what they did. And Nancy Reagan's astrologist said 10, 20, 60 is 6 months. That's what they put in the script from Hitler's birthday, which sometimes falls on Easter. So we capture the soul. And the black man kills the little boy in Soul Catcher. Okay, and this is written by a white, but it's sacred, the African voodoo. And they pour out a mountain of swastikas in my presence and paint Japanese symbols on the wall and say, these are warriors, warriors, sacred the African warriors, 7 foot tall with Lady Riefenstahl, Hitler's favorite filmmaker. She made Triumph of the Will. And Salman Rushdie is going to protect the free speech movement, except you. Your book is going to be burned by Celine Dion because you cry babied about a virgin rejecting you. And Munir Zappi can't have that on the Howard Stern show. That's the way they think about it. So it's interesting that a Shulman's store I found a creme Madani, like a creme Maduri, with an autographed a book by Ionesco, who wrote Insulting the Audience, right? They thought, oh, well, it worked. You can insult, but you're still nonviolent. Neat. And so they blow up 911. We blow up 911. You're still nonviolent. Neat. And the hotwire, because this is um, uh, desertion from African studies. We're supposed to be talking about black Muslims here, son. And remember, you're a racist. Make no one says you're a racist. So Sunday Audit's not getting no job here because he's a black scholar who knows you're not a racist. We can't have that here, son. You're racist because you're white, and everybody's got to toe the Teamsters line when it comes to that singular point of importance. I think you know what I'm saying about you, boy. And this miasma was what I was trying to come to terms with when I was 16, 17 years old, sitting in a creek writing about saving the world from the military industrial complex in a book called The Heaven and Hell Odyssey with the priests of Mitch Hawk and the City of Threnody, the Manchester and Saga of Jane and O'Dea. And what did the British so-called friends do? Bah, right in the back. They come and say, oh, we love you, man. And then they dig out the people who actually torture me, who locked me in house from the inside for something called ARC, of Salk Research Labs, Salk Labs, right? And they turn into he's the good guy and he gets the symbol of life too. But nobody's ever going to love you because you won't forgive that they tortured you. You're not the good kind. So Obama's going to forgive them for you. And you're going to spend your life. 2 years I was homeless. They raped Jeannie. 2 years, some guy comes up to me and says a cop did the raping. Your grand facade so soon had burned. You weren't an androgyny, nonviolent, honorary to Greta Thunberg in the magical religion of lesbianism in the woods of Princeton, waiting for the filtration system of unidentified people from Jimi Hendrix's experience parks. Yeah, this is the mind of Britain that we have allied ourselves with. And Donald Trump saying, be my guest, Mr. Putin, murder one of our freaks in Times Square. People will cheer you, and each row will sell your forgiveness song.